Welcome to Rolling Reflections with the restaurant edition with Billy Sherman here, and he's been on the show before, and I knew he would come back because I believe one of the formats of the show is showing the people who are in this sport, who are at my gym specifically, and what the culture is like, the different personalities, and Billy is one of those personalities that I think has a lot to say. Billy, I think that you're a very deep individual. I think you're a clown at heart.
Yeah.
But every clown is a clown masking a bunch of depth. And so the last time I had you on, I think we went there. And for people who don't know you, you're a comedian. Literally, I say clown, but
yeah.
You are a comedian.
I am a comedian.
So I'm not just saying that to be silly. But you have some competition coming up, a big one. And I figure we can chat about that from the perspective of preparation. And we kind of anecdotally were talking before this about, tinkering with things. A new audio setup messes up the professional podcast that I am, the AV guy that I know I am. And I'm like, I was good. And now I'm like struggling because I have to learn this. And there's moves that you're good at and there's moves that you want to learn and they throw off your game. So all of that's on the table. I'm going to turn it over to you just as an initial kind of feeder. What's going through your mind as you prep? What's the competition and what's going through your mind right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say for sure, our coach, Andy, our black belt, Andy Lunenberg, originally put me on for this competition for IBJJF in Nashville. And at first, I've been out. I haven't competed since maybe April or so. And at that point, I think I had completed about 6 or 7 different competitions up to that point. But after a really nasty shoulder injury, I kind of chilled out for most of the summer and, up until now. So there was a lot of anxiety going into competition mode because, you have to prepare. For me, and I'll be honest with you, I like eating out. I love to go out and eat out, but you can't do that in competition mode. You gotta watch your calorie intake. You gotta watch your macros, and you can't overconsume carbs. And I like to eat tacos. So
Where's the jiu-jitsu taco diet?
Yeah, exactly. There is none. So it's I'm putting a lot on myself, and I'm not sure if I'll win. I keep telling myself either I'm going to win or I'm going to learn. I keep telling myself that. I think the thing that's really pushing me and making me want to do this more than ever is that we're doing it as a team. There's a team aspect to it. I'm not just alone and going to a competition by myself type of thing. And that's in its own right really difficult to do, especially when you don't have a coach in your corner or just somebody that there to look at. And I know you might have experienced some of that at one point at Naga.
Yeah, my first comp, I was just solo. And I remember Ben, when I came back, he's like, it's cool. You were like this assassin that no one knew. And then you start beating people, and that's cool. And I'm like, it is cool. But also the next cool level is I'm not going to compete without a team again for the reasons that you're saying.
Right. Because then it's a camaraderie thing. And then it's also, it's like, hey, we can all make jokes afterwards. The big release of we're at dinner or we're having a couple beers or whatever it is, we can talk about, man, wasn't that just crazy? And win or lose or whatever, we're a team. We're talking about it. And I think that thing really helps motivate me. Another guy in our gym, Jake Stillen, he's another fellow white belt, but we've been pressuring each other quite a lot when it comes to dieting, when it comes to waking up early, when it comes to getting to the gym and getting to every single class. It's been a lot of pressure on each other. I made an agreement to myself that I would come to 3 classes on Monday, so I've been there on Monday morning. The fundamentals at 5:30 and the advanced class at 6:30. I told myself I'm going to make this agreement. I'm going to commit to this. I am jonesing to come tonight, even though I miss a lot of no-gi. But I think the most I can do at this point is pack in as much jiu-jitsu as I can, because we've got maybe 3 weeks, less than 4 weeks, honestly. November 11th. So it's kind of a lot. as I'm approaching the competition, as it's getting closer to that date, I'm feeling a bit more confident as far as my A game. You know, I notice with jiu-jitsu guys, typically, a lot of us pull guard. You know, we don't really just like wrestle and try to take guys down. But I think if you can learn a couple of really good takedowns or even just some judo in there, you know, if you can learn some judo, like I've got one really good judo sweep that I can do on somebody who doesn't have any stand up whatsoever. Um,
Mm.
and it's kind of like an Uchimata, but not really. It's sort of similar to that Uchimata sweep. But when I hit that on people that don't know what they're doing, I'm like, oh man, that's great. It's even better when you get it on somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
so so I mean, I think going into it, that's my A game is at least having an idea of like, hey, don't just pull guard. Or if I'm going to pull guard, I'm going to pull it as something that's really lethal, you know, like a single leg X or something.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because there's this building of a game, and we're white belts. I'm a more novice white belt than you, so when I think of my game, it's right now emerging in little shards and fragments, and there's not much there. But it's funny because as you prepare, no matter how many classes you go to, you're visualizing your game, and then you get to the tournament, and it's just all bets are off to some extent. And I remember my first tournament, my only tournament. I was in the semifinals match in gi, and we're circling, trying to fight for grips. And then I have one single leg that I can do. And so I shoot for the single leg at the exact moment that he shoots for a single leg. And then we both kind of end up on this like knee. I don't know what to do from this position. So it becomes this scramble front headlock and then try to, invert and like suplex him over and get to side control. And it went well, but it was like, there was a moment because we're both new that we kind of went, huh? And then go. This does not compute.
Yeah, that's the fun. That's definitely the fun about competing. I couldn't tell if that was your cat at first when I saw it.
That was my cat. Yeah, that was. Thanks for that, Frazier. Dr. Frazier Finch, everyone.
Little cameo appearance.
Yeah. Well, but that with a team with me in that moment, that would have been talked about.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been teased. It would have been a joke. It would have been supportive. But that was a moment that I experienced, but would have loved to have had my brothers around, my sisters around to like reflect on that. And then I could do that for them too. So it's not lost on me how important or how enhanced the experience is, how much I'd want to do it again if you have all of those, and I had other team people that weren't my team, but their coaches would come up to me and give me a compliment or whatever. But you're going to get complimented. You're not going to get teased or played with by some other person's coach. It's not the same thing, but at least there was some connection, so you're not alone.
Yeah, we had a situation like that at the last Grappling Industries. It was Jake versus this other guy who apparently was the very first guy he ever competed against. But Jake had him in a triangle, and this guy decides to just powerbomb Jake like right on the ground. And of course, he gets disqualified because there's no slamming, there's no power bombs, this isn't WWE, you can't be doing this kind of stuff. And the guy gets disqualified, and we've been talking about that since. Like we've just been talking.
It's a big moment.
Yeah, and it's just like, why would you know the rules, or you should know the rules going into the comp that there's moves that you are totally not allowed to do.
Sure.
But
yeah. I think Jake, if I'm correct, at the last fundamentals or one of those classes I was at with him, he was saying something that he was right now at 200 or something, and he needs to lose his weight because he's like, I don't want to wrestle above 200 and be with a bunch of muscly dudes who are just, like there's a certain level where all of a sudden the body and physique of the competitors changes, and you're like, right now I'm 195 to 200. But you wouldn't know that looking at me because the guys that are at 195 and 200 don't look like I look.
That's true.
It's like just jacked and like, where are my muscles? And I thought muscle weighed more than fat. So how are you bigger than me and you weigh less?
Right.
I haven't been able to figure that out.
And that's another thing too I look at too, because a lot of the competitions that I've had, I've wanted to be against either super tall guys who are, for them, 185, whatever, that's perfect for them, For me, I should really be competing competing at like lightweight. I should be competing at like 169 or whatever it is for IBJJF. And that's the hard part about it is cutting the weight. And then if you don't, you're going to have to compete against guys that are bigger than you, and they're probably coming off of 200. So if I have to fight a guy who just he cut himself from 200, now he's down to 185, and I'm competing at 185. I've got a lot to look forward to with that.
Yeah, I've always wondered, this cutting thing and how beneficial it is to walk around 10, 20 pounds heavier than you fight at versus having a lifestyle where you're 5, 10 pounds at the most above where you're at. Because I think a 5-pound cut's nothing. I remember talking to Matt, our coach, and he's like, where are you at? And I'm like, I got to lose 5 pounds in 2 weeks. He's like, oh, you can do that in 1. Easy,
Right.
And to the average person, even 5 pounds feels like a lot of weight, but I understand there are certain restrictions that you can do that easily and safely, but you start getting 10, you get 20 pounds in a short period of time. It's like the toll it takes on your body and the reward you get from it as a Masters competitor.
Yeah.
Probably not a big deal. I'm not worried about it, but are you competing adult?
No, I'm competing Masters 1 this time around.
Masters 1.
I'd
Okay.
like to do adult, but I think if I'm going to do adult, I think I would rather do the more regional comps rather than an IBJJF. Mostly because, at least with regionals, it's a guaranteed round robin type of situation where I know I'm going to get maybe 5 or 6 guys. You know what I mean? Versus if I'm going to go into IBJJF and now I don't know how many people are in my bracket. I have not even checked. But going into that and saying, all right, if I lose this one, I'm out. Like I came all the way out here to Nashville and I just got a t-shirt. You know what I mean? I want to give myself a fighting chance. I mean, I'm turning 31, for what it's worth. I'm turning 31 on Saturday. So, for what it's worth, I think I want to at least give myself the benefit of the doubt. Be like, all right, I should probably go play around with the other 30-year-old white belts and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, hey, my comp, I was 39 and the guy who beat me was 30. And I felt the difference, I can tell you. And there was one guy who's 45 in the bracket, Nogi for me. And even that was, it still felt similar. 39 to 45 didn't feel like that big of a leap, but I think 39 down to 30, you're going to feel that. I think I suppose it could get easier at 40. The difference between 40 and 50 maybe is less severe than 20 to 30, which is more severe than 30 to 40. But there is a leveling off. Although I did see a meme that was like these people, it was from a movie like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or something, and it's all these crappy singing kids, and it's like Masters athletes trying to train to compete with the athletic blue belts, the young blue belts, and then it gets to the guy, it's like 8 hours of sleep and it's crappy singing, and it's creatine and it's crappy singing, and then it gets to TRT and it's like this beautiful melodic voice. I'm like, we've found the solution to be competitive with the 20-year-olds.
Yeah, quite honestly. When I go against some of the young guys, the young bucks at the gym, and there's quite a few of them, we got Jared, we got Quentin, we got a lot of guys in the gym that are younger, and they've got way more gas in the tank. They've got way more stamina than me. I have to rely on jujitsu. I have to rely on pure, like, oh, they messed up here. I got something I can do, or some kind of skillful thing that I could do. I have to really rely on that because, 9 times out of 10, they got me beat when it comes to, strength and speed, So, but the thing is, that's kind of cool too. If you're 30 something and you say, I'm going to go at adult division, again in a regional comp, so you get more rounds. It's kind of fun just being like, hey, I could dance with the guys that are, younger and more athletic than me,
Yeah. Well, there was a Paul, black belt from our gym. He was talking about, I launched into this and I totally forgot the guy's name. Not Atom Bomb, but he's got a megaton or something like that. He's like a 55, 60-year-old coral belt, and he's the only coral belt to go and compete in adult division.
Wow.
And at these big events, and he's winning. Like he's placing, and not every time, but he's going with 20-something-year-olds and all this stuff, and it's incredible to see. So it's not the rule, it's the exception. But
True.
to that point, he's chosen his path. And I think that's great. And that's inspirational because I do, as a 30, I'll be 40 next month. I do want to do this sport so I can be competitive and not just hang with the old guys. Like, I don't need to beat 20-year-olds all the time, or I don't need to be as competitive, but I would like to give them a fight.
Yes. Yes. I look at guys like, say, our coach, Matt Morin. I mean, he's in his mid-40s. And, I mean, going against him, I mean,
I've yet to do this, by the way.
Oh, it's a fun time.
I imagine.
It's a very humbling experience, I mean, yeah, he's older than me, and I mean, again, he's a brown belt, probably very soon a black belt, and he can make me into mincemeat. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
I think that's kind of an interesting thing is that I think the higher up you go on your belts, there's levels to it, right? The higher you go up on your belts with age and everything, there really is a skill there. And, I'd like to see a guy that comes in athletic, blue belt that, thinks he's got it all together and he's like really in shape and everything. And he goes up against a guy like Matt and Matt just pulverizes the dude. And, it's also inspiring for me because I'd like to be in my 40s and be like, man, I'm a brown belt or a purple belt or whatever it may be at that time, and I'm smoking these kids. That'd be really cool feeling to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this stuff that we do now too that allows for that longevity, which I'm trying to solve for myself because we're talking about going into competition a bit today, and you're not gonna learn this crazy inverted whatever that you've never done before and then try to throw that in 4 weeks into a tournament. And I get that, but beyond the tournament, the risk is injury because there's a mobility thing, there's a strength thing, there's a technique acquisition thing that prevents people from getting injured. Cause I have recently discovered that I don't tuck my feet well. And so in certain sprawls, if I take someone's back and they flatten onto their stomach, my feet sometimes get trapped and I almost tap myself out. It's only happened 2 or 3 times in 8 months, but I'm like, what the hell is that? So there's a white belt body awareness piece that I'm missing. And it's just a flexion of the foot that can be the difference between longevity and a month off the mat. And so in your experience, maybe I'm different in that, but have you had, as you've gone, you've realized there's a reduction in that kind of mistake where you're putting your body in the wrong position as you've gone that has reduced some of that kind of pain or the flexion in shoulder because you're outstretched or what your body position has allowed you to reduce injury risk?
Yeah, I think Andy put this right, but he kind of said that like in a way there's like 3 piles of things that I do, right? There's the good things you do, then there's the bad things I do, and then there's the Billy things that I do. And the Billy things are not good or bad. They're just little creative things that I do for my body, right? So my Billy things that I do that other people hate, by the way, is if I'm in side control and I'll put like my leg over their head. Usually I'm trying to go for like a Kanto choke or something, something like that. Not very good at it, but it's very annoying to get my little leg over somebody's head and try and, choke them. But I'll notice that there's certain points where, like, say, I'm up on them, maybe I fall over on my shoulder or something, and like that really sucks because my shoulders can only take so much. There are some other situations where, like, for example, I don't really go for submissions. I'm very the way my jiu-jitsu and my brain works is competition points. That's even when I'm rolling, like in the gym, I don't really care about the submission. If I can get a submission on somebody, cool, I'll try and threaten it. But I try not to sacrifice a good position for a bad submission. I really try not to. And I notice every time that I do go for like a half-baked armbar or something like that, then I get on my back, and then the guy gets up, and then he pulverizes me. And, so I'd rather just like smush him to the ground as much as I can. But sometimes you get a little overzealous, and you're like, all right, I'll try something. But yeah, I do get into these positions where, man, I'll tell you, I get beat up on my shoulders. My shoulders really is the one that gets beat up the most. Knees, but I feel like my legs are still good even for somebody who's in their 30s. I feel like I can handle a little bit more.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, until so hopefully that keeps going on.
I love when we do the wrestling shots for fundamentals on Monday, the warm ups and stuff. I'm like solid when I shoot on my right leg, and then I do like slow motion on my left because I'm like, at any moment in time, this thing could just blow out right now. Put my hand on the mat for the first one to see what's feeling. Like, you got to like slowly ramp up because age is annoying. But I rolled with you once at, I think it was an open mat, and you tapped me like 4 times.
Is that right?
So, yeah, I think it was like that. At least 3 times, and maybe it was at least twice. Okay, but you must have seen in that, like, I'm a new guy. I don't really know what I'm doing. So then you'll choose to play that and you'll work that because it's right there. But I do know that feeling because I know for a fact I had controlled my gold medal match in gi, and I had it won on points, and then I'm in mount and he can't get me off. But I was there for long enough where I was like, well, I got to try this arm bar. Almost like it was boring or something.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, it's not going to make the highlight reels, but I had the match. I had him controlled, and you can't stall in mount. But I went for an armbar that I don't know how to do. He switches over, and then I shoot for a single or a double, and then I get caught in a guillotine, and it's over.
I see.
Because I abandoned what I could do. I get on top, stay on top. That's what Matt told me.
Yes. So was that your last match?
Yeah, it was my finals match.
Okay, interesting. And he got a guillotine on you, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, submissions are cool. They're really cool to look at. When you see a guy get an armbar or a triangle or an omoplata, I love omoplatas, and I don't know who doesn't, but omoplatas they just look cool, especially when it's when they're so quick and they just get them on. But man, that's the thing is, typically for me, and I hate saying this because it is sort of a blemish on competitions that I've had, but let's say a few of my matches I've pulled and I did a bad pull, like a really bad pull, and they just get on top, and now I'm stuck in half guard bottom. I hate being there. It's great when you're in half guard bottom and you can start moving and you can get a potential sweep out of that situation. But usually, honestly, if I'm on top in almost any position, I definitely will try to just stay there. Although, I think my strategy is more like get as many points as possible, so that way, even if they do sweep you, which they can, I give it to these guys.
Sure.
These guys got a lot of toughness, and they don't like to quit. Even when they're down 10 points or whatever, they're like, no, I'm not giving up. They're like, they got a lot of heart in them. So if you can really beat the brakes off of them, I'd say collect points. One thing I thought was kind of a cool strategy is, and I might be wrong about this, but as far as I know, you can get the neon belly points, from both sides. So that's 4 points right there, plus the 3 from side control, plus the 3 from mount, plus if you can get a back tick is another 3. So you're racking points on this guy. If you can really rack up points on him, at that point I wouldn't even care about a cool armbar. If I'm like, if I'm up 20 points and he's at 7 points, and this guy needs to do X, Y, and Z to stop me, and let's say he gets the sweep, I'm holding that guard and being as annoying as possible.
Yeah.
I won't even be aggressive at that point. I would just be like, I'm going to be really defensive and just hold on to him and just, you can't leave me.
Well, that would be great with the coach being there, or a teammate being there, because then that person can be that voice of like, you're in good position. And in one of my no-gi matches, I had made a connection on social media with this girl who was competing, and she came over to watch my first match. And I got up and I was on point. I was winning on points, and it was however many a minute was left or whatever. And she just kept yelling, stay heavy, stay heavy. And I just protected myself, and I smothered and, cooked and whatever you want to call it. And I just stayed heavy, and I squeezed at the last 10 seconds when I heard that last 10 seconds. But I wanted to jump, and I was like, I should go to mount here. But I was solid. Like, I was in no danger. I had won the match. And because she was saying stay heavy, I stayed heavy. And then I said, do you want to win this? And then just grip it and finish the last 10 seconds. But in that finals match in gi, maybe, you're right there. Just stay there. Keep pressure. Then I would have listened because my coach is telling me or my teammates telling me, hey, remember, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine. And there's nothing wrong with being able to control another adult man where they can't do anything to you. Like, that's cool too.
No, that's really
Submissions
cool.
are cool.
They both have their uses. I do like just holding them down and making sure that they can't get away from me. I'll ask you this though. I mean, this is something this kind of a burning question, especially when it comes to competitions. And this is something from my very first competition to losing in under 2 minutes to a friggin' arm triangle, and to now getting ready for Nashville and Tennessee. But when you're there, you'll notice there's like an energy before you even get on the mats, and right when they say kabach and you're ready to go, that adrenaline dump, you know what I mean? Everybody's yelling at you. There's other competitors fighting. What's going on through your mind and that? Because me, I've been working through it. But what for you? What's something when you felt that?
Yeah, I think it was the very first match I ever did. That was a unique experience because I was taking in the surroundings. I was taking in the fact that this no-gi guy had a 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu no-gi rash guard on, and I've never done no-gi except for one class at Freeform. And I thought, great, this is fantastic. And then it was kind of like a blank to a certain degree because it went fast. I thought it would be slower, like you'd put the band on your ankle, shake hands, but it was just like super casual in Naga. And so he was like, oh, go. And I'm like, oh, we're okay, we're going. And then he pulled guard. And then it was like, okay, cool. I was just, here we go. And just trying to think of what to do. And I think once I stepped on the mat, it was fine. It was the 10 minutes of watching my name creep up on the list to make sure that I was ready to go.
Yeah.
I didn't want to miss it. So you're just like sitting here, you're like stretching out. Do I got to go to the bathroom? I better go to the bathroom one more time because this is my last chance. No, I got one more time. I'm going to go to the bathroom. And it was like my body was trying to evacuate itself.
Yeah.
And I was like, shut up, body, because I need to go do this now. And oh crap, do I have to go to the bathroom again? And so it was like all these stupid little nervous things that I just wanted to, can we just do mine now? Can we just get this over with? And then it was the waiting for the next match. And then that was where I got all of these nerves is I just can't miss it. I have to be there for it. And I almost missed my finals match in Nogi because I went and got a banana. And then I was coming back and my match got moved up 20 minutes. And all of a sudden I just check it randomly. It says I'm a minute late. And so I just start sprinting across the arena, like from outside into the arena in my clothes, ripping my clothes off. And then he's like he's standing waiting for me. And then I'm like gasping because I sprinted, shake his hand, then I get guillotined by him in the first 30 seconds. And that was my finals match. And I was like, God damn it. But the nerves of that, of like, I'm going to forfeit this match because I got a banana. And like all of that and feeling just stupid is what I felt. And then Guy, I'm like, I'm going nowhere. I am staying put. But what do you do with yourself? And I was alone, so I think it was in my head a lot of just be where you need to be and just try to shake it off. And you sent me a meme, like a reel, I'm pretty sure. And I listened to that every match. I put that thing in my ear because I forgot headphones, and that got me so hype.
Okay.
And I told myself during those matches is whoever wants it more is going to win it. And so when I got into certain positions, I would tell myself, like, how do you want this more than him? And then, you know, when I lost 2 of the matches, the finals, it was a guillotine both times, and I can't. My tongue is cut, so like I tap. I wanted it more than him. Well, he's better than me, so whatever. I made a stupid mistake. Congratulations. But that really helped me too. So having those things that you can disconnect from the environment and go somewhere else to conjure up the energy you need, that was a gift that you gave me. So I don't know if I ever thanked you, but I think I did. But I really that had some legs to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I appreciate you saying that. I think for me, as soon as my feet touch the mat, same thing with you. It's a weird calming feeling. It's like, okay, we're here. We're going to go. We're going to do this. I try to smile so I can tell my brain that this is a happy moment and not a I'm gonna kill somebody or they're gonna kill me.
Yeah.
I try to smile.
Yeah.
I try to get in there. I try to be the first one on the mat, running to the ref. Um, I feel like that's an energy too. Sometimes when I'm competing, at least a few times that I've seen this, but if I can see that the other team is coaching, like saying, "Hey, all right, Brendan," or whoever this guy is, and like psychologically, I can hear them cheering their friend on, and I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
about that, and I don't want to think about any of it. I just want to be in Mike Tyson zone. I just want to get in
Yeah.
there, and I just want to just compete and destroy. Um, but I'll be honest with you, man. That feeling, that anxiety, your name's coming up, you're in the bullpen, you're waiting, you're sweaty, you haven't ate great, you've been eating, bananas and nuts and chia seeds, and you're trying to be healthy, you're drinking water and you're peeing every 2 minutes, and then they call your name up and you're like, all right, ready to go. It's like you're wired on espresso,
Mm.
and you're afraid that you're gonna miss your flight. It's like a weird guttural like
Yeah.
feeling.
Yep.
And even when my very first comp, I mean it scared the crap out of me. My very first one, I'm standing there, and he goes, bam. It was a Naga. It was a Naga back home in Hawaii. He goes, bam, fight, and I'm going up against this dude, and it was like time just froze for me because I was never used to that. I never really competed in a sport
Sure.
like that before. But after doing it so many times, now I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. He's gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. We're just gonna try and kill each other. Um, yeah, I'd say that, especially for somebody just starting out, just about to get into competition mode, it's good to have a friend there or something that you can hold on to. When I went to Chicago Grappling Industries, what really helped me through that was, I mean, I was running around the arena like a maniac. I was sprawling. I was talking to friends, making small talk. I
Sure.
talked to my buddies and stuff. But I think what really really helped me was that maybe for some people it's music, some other people it's video, but I played like certain songs that kind of calmed me down a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I need. I need to calm down. If I get too wired up, I get lost in the sauce. So I kind of just calm down a little bit and just chill. Just be like, look, we're here, but I'm focused. I know what's going to happen. This guy's going to try to wrestle me. He's going to grab me. He's going to choke me, you know. But I mean, it's 5 minutes.
Yep.
It's not 10 minutes, not 20 minutes, 5 minutes. Make the best 5 minutes you can.
Yeah. I remember telling myself, this was in the Army, but you can do anything for 5 minutes
Yeah.
because it would always be at the last 5 minutes of a run or whatever you're doing. If the final closing minutes of whatever, it's like if you've done it this much, you can finish it. And at the best, you're talking 30 minutes of total fighting in a tournament or something. Out of the whole day, it's 30 minutes that you're going hard, and like you can do that. But it's funny the different mental states that you can be in, and the blackout kind of thing where in no-gi or in gi, I totally forgot what De La Hiva was. Like looking back at it, I'm like, he was just standing right there, and I'm on my back because we had this sprawl, and he stood up, and I'm like, and I didn't go for that. It was right there, and I had talked to Coach Matt that was part of my game, and I didn't use it a single time. But that's like the white belt. I think what differentiates me from an experienced grappler is the fact that the game changed because the situation was different, the environment was different.
Yeah.
How do you stay present? And so that's kind of what you're doing with music. I think I have a lot of passivity in my life, and so I try to conjure up fight. Even in my matches, I wanted the other guy to do well. I wanted to win, but I felt like I was making them feel bad because I was smothering them, which I should have been like, hell yeah, I'm smothering them,
Yeah.
And now I have a different attitude because you go to enough freeform classes and you go with, tough competitors and you're the one getting smothered. And then you're like, this is just part of the game. We're just trying to smother each other. And so that I think is going to be an interesting experience. And I won't compete until I can find a place to go with all of you guys, because I think that's going to be the informative answer for myself to know, like, hey, is competition something I want to do, and how often do I want to do it? It's going to change with the dynamic of a team.
Absolutely. I think another thing to look at too in competition is because there's a lot of things that are legal in competitions that we don't really necessarily do to each other at the gym because we want to be nice to our fellow teammates and stuff. But, Andy has taught me a lot about, using my head as a post, using my head to smash in their face and push their head away. And that really is uncomfortable and hurts a lot. I mean, you can smash right into their forehead, into their nose, into their chin. You can push them away. And it really just, it hurts. It hurts like hell, honestly. But you can do that at a competition and not get disqualified. So I think touching on a little bit of what you said earlier is all the things like smashing and smothering, all these type of things that would be kind of viewed as, oh man, you're being a jerk to Adam. That's our friend. You can do those things to this guy in this competition because it's a competition, no hard feelings. I kind of like that. Also, they can do that to you too. So, something to look out for.
Oh, for sure. But I don't know if you find this at the competition. I found I was able to kind of take a lot of stuff that I've suppressed, not memories but some emotion where I didn't realize I had stored in me, and I was able to put it on the mat where I'm not going to hurt somebody, but I felt something change in me when you're in that moment of like, now I'm really going to press into you. I'm going to do this quote unquote mean thing that would be mean to a friend, like mashing my face and my forehead into yours or my knee on your neck or whatever it is that I'm doing, cranking this or whatever. I found that there was like an anger in me that had a place there. It was still safe, but it was allowed to breathe. And I really valued that experience.
That's good. I'd say that's really good that you've unlocked that and you're able to tap into that reservoir for yourself, because then you can use that as a fuel, for your move sets and, I got this thing and I see this, so I'm going to do this. For me, I tend to find when I'm on the mats just training, obviously it's with higher belts, I'm just trying to survive. But if it's with, fellow white belts, or if it's with fellow white belts that are, 3 stripes or whatever, I'm going to do mean things to them. But if it's fellow white belts that are newer, sometimes I'm just laying on top of them because I don't really want to just push my head into the guy's face. I'm just like, okay, this guy's been going here for a month. Why am I gonna be all mean to the guy? If anything, at that point, I'm working on my guard, I'm working on my sweeps kind of thing. But that's really good that you have that. I think for me in competitions is definitely keeping that tenacity, keeping that like, I'm going to keep going, even if things go sideways. That's the one part of competitions I don't like. If things go, the way you didn't want, you get swept, you got taken down. Now you're down 2 points. Maybe you're down 5 points. And now you got to fight. And you got to fight from a bad position. I don't like that at all. I hate it. I want to just be on top. I want to lay on top of you. I want to break that guy's will. And I want him to, surrender. And then I win. I get a gold medal and have a couple beers and call it a day. But it doesn't always go that way. So yeah, I mean, when it really comes down to it, I have to also tap into that place. If you have something seated inside of you that's like, hey, it's a memory or it's something unlocked, that I'd say for my training, I will think about difficult times in my life, things that were hard to deal with, personal things, life, how people treated me, all kind of things like that, childhood memories, those kind of things. If I use that as kind of my motivator in some ways to get through classes, to get through certain things, like, hey, I'm still sturdy, I'm still resilient. You got to have that resiliency. A lot of people who continue to do this sport and suffer injuries and come back, I mean, that is absolute resilience. It's so difficult to be like, man, my legs hurt, my shoulder hurts, my neck hurts. But guess what, honey? I got to go 6:30 class.
Sure. Yeah, I'm there. My neck and my back, my knees. But I think there's an acceptable pain where you can be safe and do that stuff. And it's just like, hey, I was talking to, I forget who it was, but I was talking about, I think it was Ricky. I was talking to him about, pain. And it's like, let me guess, you're in pain. It's like, yeah, you too, And it's kind of like in the Army where it was, everyone here is in pain. What makes you special? And I both embrace that, but also try to mitigate it because I don't want to be in, like I call it, I can't drive home pain, that I can't squat down pain.
Yeah.
But I understand the low level discomfort because we're humans in raggedy bodies doing a really rough sport and
Yeah.
probably not doing all the stuff we need to. Like, wouldn't it be great, Billy? You know, we finish rolling and then we have the massage tables over there. We have the physical therapist just waiting for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, we get the sauna and we get the hot towels and whatever it is. And we have our chefs there to give us our perfect recovery meal. Like, I think it's possible. I'm just saying,
That'd be nice.
how realistic.
Well, we'll tell Matt to do this. I'm sure he can get that hooked up.
Yeah, freeform. So I was looking at this building that was 50,000 square feet in Brown Deer or Glendale, one of the two, and it's up for auction. And it's like the perfect place to build a freeform wellness spa. You can have all of the suites in there, and for one membership, you can have access to the whole lot of it. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I'll pitch it to him later.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Hey, that'd be cool. I'd be happy with just getting an acai bowl at the end of it, honestly.
Right.
You know, but I mean, yeah, it's there was this thought that I had the other day, a couple days ago when I was in class, and it was right in between teaching. But I was thinking, as Andy was showing us a move, I was thinking, man, you know, there's people out there who they push themselves to do things. You know, maybe they're lifting, maybe they're lifters are lifting heavy, or they're running, or all those type of things. And maybe sometimes I don't see all the effort that I put into jiu-jitsu. You know, maybe I don't look at every class and say, well, did I really put in my best, or did I really put in enough time? But you know, the truth is, man, we are going out there, we're putting in time, we're drilling moves, we're getting back up, we're going, you know, 6 or 7 rounds, maybe more. You know, typically I'll do 5 to 6 rounds, and then I'll call it after that, because that's when it starts to hurt. But you know, like I was thinking about it really heavily. I was like, man, on Monday I did 5 rounds in the morning, and then at night I did 7. You know, so I'm like, I'm doing way more than I normally do. You know, and I love it. I don't know how long I have until I can't do it anymore, but I want to keep doing it until I get to a point where my jiu-jitsu excels and people are like, wow, Billy got pretty good, man, look at him.
Yeah.
You know?
But you're still looking at high rank, right? Like you're still looking at, you know, achieving those higher belt ranks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, I think I got 2 years on the clock. Like this is still like, you're hoping like a decade, or, you know, like a good chunk of time where before you got to slow down.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you know, the whole TRT thing, we joke about it, but you know, there's some truth to that, man. I mean, we gotta
Sure.
preserve our bodies. We gotta look at things. We gotta look at ways to take care of ourselves. I mean, hey, I'll do stem cells if I need to. You know, if I got to repair my shoulder somewhere, I'll do stem cells. I'll do whatever I got to do. You know, I sometimes think about this too. It's kind of a motivational thing, but I think about who I was when I was a kid. You know, that the young boy, the young lad who wanted to be a martial artist or wanted to learn how to fight. And just it was mostly for self-defense. You know, but I'm quite honestly, I'm not a very violent guy. I don't like violence very much. I don't like to hurt people. You know, but if I have to, then okay. You know, I hope the guy's in the wrong. I don't want to be in the wrong. You know.
Sure.
So I feel like in that whole situation, I look at the kid version of me, and I guess I look at, well, they really wanted to be a badass warrior. You know, that was like their thing. And so now here I am, 30 years old, trying to make that wish happen. And it's tough, man. It's tough. It's like, hey, kiddo, you know, the kid's inside. You're like, hey, kiddo, my body's sore, but I'm gonna keep going and try and get this for you. You know.
Yes. I'm exploring with this, so I'm going to probably take this part out, but I have, with this Roadcaster, I have these effects so I can change my voice to a monster and whatnot. I'm like, I could probably do these whole sequences of being like, you know, like, I'm sorry, little guy, you know, I really can't roll.
But you promised that we would be strong martial artists someday.
Well, I really want to, but I can't do it. But you
said it. You're a liar.
I'm sorry. And just like, shut your mouth. And just like make that a whole like podcast.
You should do like a special Halloween themed one. I think that would be
really fun. Yeah.
spooky,
Could waste too much time.
modern spooky myths.
That's right. Gather round, children.
Monster
What a story
myths.
to tell. Yeah, there we go. Ah, brilliant. See, that's what it becomes a show. Like, it becomes a whole experience.
Yes.
I forgot what we were talking about. I just got wrapped up. Oh, yeah, the little boy, inside ourselves.
Yeah.
But that's real, though. I feel that in so many ways where it's like I tell myself, I don't know if you do this, if I only would have started when I was this, I would be this. If I only lifted weights consistently when I started to now, can you imagine how strong I'd be? Well, there's no real point in it because I'm doing it now.
True.
You know, and that doing it now comes with certain consequences. So do you catch yourself in that trap? And if you do, what kind of things do you tell yourself to kind of get out of it and keep moving?
I do have those thoughts. I think the one big one for me is that, wow, I never wrestled in high school, or I never wrestled. And I look at wrestlers and I'm like, I envy them, honestly, a little bit. I envy them. I'm like, man, I want to do the wrestling stuff. I want to be D1. Come on. That'd be so
Looks
cool.
good.
It looks good. And man, like, I don't want to fight a wrestler. You know,
No.
I don't even want to hang out with a wrestler, you know, because they're just crazy. They're hard to deal with, man. They take you down. They know it's so I do look at those things, but then I think, all right, well, I'm 31. I'm right now in this spot in my life. And, you know, honestly, same thing with what you said, you know, it doesn't matter because I'm doing it right now. But more importantly, I have the time now that I can use. So, for example, I can go deadlift, I can lift weights, you know. I might not be Eddie Hall level. You know, Eddie Hall probably started when he was like 15 or something like that. But I can probably get a very strong deadlift for a guy my age if I'm consistent with it and I'm eating my vegetables and I'm doing all my things. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. If I might not be, you know, let's say like Ellis. Ellis is in his 20s, very good purple belt. You know, he's definitely got that like MMA experience. I probably won't get to that. But for me and my age and my bracket and my division and me versus other 31-year-olds, I'm probably doing pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a way to look at it too. It's kind of a humbling thing because it's there's levels to it, you know. So I you have to kind of look at right now in that moment. Yes, I'm doing it. It would have been cool if I did it before. When I was younger, I did dabble in, you know, CrossFit and other like running and other like lifting, other types of things like that. But nothing prepared me for jiu-jitsu. There was not enough boxing classes, not enough Muay Thai classes that would ever prepare me to get into, oh yeah, jiu-jitsu, I got this. You know, there's things that help, like rock climbing helps and yoga helps, but it's not jiu-jitsu. And
No.
you know, it's hard. It's a really unique sport. Yeah, I feel like, you know, whoever, you know, if anyone's, you know, has an idea, wants to get into jiu-jitsu and they're looking at it, they're thinking about age is like a limitation. It's like, no, it's not. It's definitely not a limitation. I've seen, there was a guy in there, he actually came to our gym when I first came to Freeform. This guy was in his like almost 60s. And he had a blue belt with, you know, 4 stripes on it. And I rolled with him and I had a great roll with this guy. I had a great roll with him. And he's like an old guy. You know, he's a really old guy. And you know, I looked at him and I was like, man, you know, he didn't let that, man, my age or anything, because he's a blue belt or whatever. He didn't let any of that bother him. You know, there was another cool one to look at too is like John Friedland. You know, he's another black belt in the state here, but he started jiu-jitsu when he was like 28. Which, you know, most people that there's like a statistic out there, most people that start jiu-jitsu are within their late 20s. That's kind of a later age to get into the sport, you know. And then he came out of it, you know, within his probably late 30s or early 40s, a black belt, you know. So you have to kind of look at it like that. You know, some people, they say 10 years. It could be more than 10 years. It could be 12 years. You know, it could be 15 years. But that doesn't matter. The point is that that's your goal. You want to get your black belt. You know, once you're at that point, you're like, man, I put in all this time. Plus, think of the journey. You know, think of the journey that's taken us here, man. There are hobbies that, you know, I could do that could take me to places, but I'm going to Nashville. I've never been to Nashville before. You know, I was in Minnesota. Never went to Minnesota before. I never had a reason to go to Minnesota. Jiu-jitsu brought me there. You know what I mean? So that's another cool thing. Plus, you were there with friends and whatever. And so it's kind of like, yeah, you could have started then, but you're doing it now. You have the experience from your life all right now of who you are, and now you can add more experience to that, you know?
Absolutely. And the experience is with the people too. And I've done different sports, before this it was triathlon and it was cycling and all that. And there's like really, really strong communities within it where they're like best friends. They're running in the mornings together. They're swimming in the lakes and, all together. And I just didn't find that connection. And it didn't draw me in. Not that they're bad people or I'm better than them or anything like that. It was just, it wasn't my mix. And then coming to jiu-jitsu, I find, these people I can jive with. And I don't know if it's a mentality that you have to continue with a sport like jiu-jitsu versus triathlon or softball leagues, whatever. But there's a common mental, you're from different walks of life, but there's a common mentality that exists that you all agree on this one thing. And it takes a lot to agree on this thing. Like my friend is a pro cyclist and he would never do jiu-jitsu because he doesn't want to be on the mat with bare feet. You can't get over that. That's a barrier for him, and I'm like, I guess that I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, it is pretty gross. I mean, I had sweat drip in my eye from somebody else last night, it's not a glamorous thing by any means, but I've also been in triathlon where people are peeing and pooping on themselves or pulling down pants. And, it's not pretty either. Like no sport at a certain level is pretty. So you just have to figure out where you fit in, and it's the people, it's the mentality. It just makes sense and you want to figure it out. And so I guess both you and I must have some common mentality. And that's what I enjoy discovering as the journey you said is in growing in relationship and immersing yourself in the culture of the gym. And that's why it's important that there's so many gyms out there, because you might not find it at one and the sport's for you, but this gym isn't. And I'm just lucky to be back at Freeform because it's just a great place. The people are great. And even when you get smashed, there's still so much respect given. And it's not a shame driven thing. Like I've been doing okay. And then last night I got smashed in our live sparring at the end because it was a technique I'm not good at. And that was okay. The guy was better than me and he was kind about it. And there was no harm, no foul. I'm still a fine human being. I'm not a piece of trash then I don't even feel that anymore. Like I used to feel that, I think, until you get your ego broken enough and you realize, dude, nobody's here to check out your gym record. No one's here, even your competition record. Like it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you're doing something together and we're all agreeing to do this together and it's really hard and we care about each other.
True.
We have to end it here, but I have a few other questions.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll have you come back for those, but I want to get into some of that stuff later, because I think all of the different classes that you're taking and I'm taking, there's a reason for them. And I'm getting more and more curious about why people go to the classes they go to. So maybe next time we can have a chat about that. That's your challenge. That's your get prepared.
Okay.
Understand and ask yourself, why do you do the classes you do? Is it time restraints, time availability, or is there something that you learn distinctly from this coach versus that coach? This lesson style, the advanced versus intermediate versus fundamentals versus express versus open mat, all of these different things have a different purpose. So next time I want to talk to you about that. So thanks for joining me today, Billy. And until next time, journey well, my friends.